It's really cool.
That was something I meant to ask Robert.
Yes. Now,
Somebody else asked that.
I think the plan was a certificate would be awarded because Robert and I had a debate about he wanted to make this lockdown all the activities in Moodle so that you had to do all the activities and get a completion on them so that you had to do them all before you got the certificate. And I sort of did it would be better for them to do all the assessments, informative things. So yes, I think there is, but I'm not quite sure if that's actually set up or not. So yeah.
Well, that explains a few things then, because I spent ages unlocking things in Moodle
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
you couldn't go to the next unit unless you submitted the assessment. And people, particularly Jamaicans, were writing to me saying, "Oh, I can't see the unit." So I just turned everything off.
Yeah, no,
I didn't know that. That's all
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Hey, Mohammed's here.
Lynette, you put your hand up. Do you want to take the microphone?
All right. Thank you, sir. Sorry, I think there is a time you talked to me and I was not hearing my microphone and speaker had issues. So I wanted just to say that I'm present in this class and thanks a lot for the progress. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's great. Cool. All right. So we've got 11 people. We're generally getting about 15 people. So might just wait a few more minutes to see how things are going. In actual fact, the overall picture is actually something that we will cover a bit more today. Mick's got some really nice slides set up to talk to about like what you do during a week in delivering the program, everyone. So that's actually fits really nicely as well. Probably will. I'm just going to say this a couple of times. It sounds like there is actually some technical things like Zoom, breakout rooms, whiteboards, looking at other whiteboard things like Miro, and using Moodle for participant tracking and self and peer assessment that we do need to do before you actually start delivering to be comfortable. So I'm going to suggest that, and it was only a thought I had in the last hour or so. We keep on gathering at this time on a Thursday. Is it Wednesday? Yeah, to gather at this particular time for this session as a lead up for things. So we can keep on talking and communicating, and we're essentially starting the mentoring sessions as well. I hope that's okay. And it's just that's a response to some of the things that's possibly needed as well. Okay. I'm going to clear some of these. Thank you. We can answer some of these things today. We won't be able to answer all of them.
Hello, Frida and Tombo.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about support. So these are the types of questions in terms of thinking about support. Mick, what we should have been doing, just realized, Mick, we probably should have been setting up breakout rooms instead of chatting away. You okay to do that while I did a little bit of intro to this? Or, or do you
Chat
want,
away about that? Yeah, I can do that.
or do you want to do this and I do the breakout rooms?
Yep, sure. Okay. So one of the things that's very time consuming is the whole process of supporting people, communicating, telling them what's what. And it doesn't matter how many times you send a message or you put something in a calendar or you provide a Zoom link or you remind people about assessment, you're going to get lots of questions from people who don't read that. They're busy, it's no big deal who's done what, but you just don't have the time to kind of do that whatsoever. So communicating with people is really, really important. And WhatsApp, I found a little bit challenging because you'd be sitting around watching television, listening to music at midnight, only get a message from you guys, and you think, okay, you need an answer now. So often it was about, can you share the assessment with me? I don't know what to do. Where's the link? And it can be frustrating, but there's nothing you can do about it. You've just got to be prepared to support people when they need it. Support also involves setting the scene for the next session. I tended to keep that fairly lean, but some people like to put a video in or a discussion question to get the ball rolling. They'll do as an icebreaker or whatever, but I kept it pretty lean, and we're going to share with you some of those email templates so that you can just look at them and adapt them for your crew. Probably better coming from you in the way that you write. The second question, when is the best time to deliver and for how long? There's no really good answer for that. We do know from Robert that it's a 2-month deal, and Robin had a good model last night of how that might happen. Given that in that 2-month period, you could still have a bit of time afterwards to complete maybe the last couple of assessments, particularly the plan, which you've wanted to put that there, and the evaluation of it. And the evaluation is going to be important for you because you're going to have to submit a report like we did to Robert as part of your resourcing. So part of our thinking with that was, with the last unit, was about evaluation, but was to get you to do the evaluation because the questions would be much more authentic coming from you, and the data that we got, we shared with Robert, we summarized it, and that's what we're basing this particular these sessions on, to work out, well, what are the sort of things that didn't go so well or could be improved, and how might we bring them to you to see how that might kind of play out. So for example, a lot of you said much more collaboration at the beginning, and then through these hybrid workshops, we've had some great ideas around peer assessment, self-assessment, which we'll talk about tonight, and also more kind of doing hands-on sorts of things. How we do that is a bit of a challenge because that takes time, given that the structure of the course is kind of Cola happy with. So it's really kind of at the margins about how you might do those existing assessments in a different way. And the other question is, or the third question is, how can you best model what a blended TVET teacher does? So whether you like it or not, you're going to be the champion. So you're going to be the model of blended learning that they haven't done a course before or haven't taught online, is going to be the benchmark. You're going to be the benchmark. So how you use a variety of communication, different facilitation activities, how you check people's understanding in different ways, whether it be a quiz or a breakout room or a whiteboard activity, and how you provide feedback to learners. Is that model. Is that model. And it's made a bit trickier because a lot of that communication is through the written word, and that's time consuming. So it may be really useful to bring ChatGPT on to help you with things like feedback or crafting emails, or even coming up with ideas for polls or quizzes that are going to happen in that session. You're not going to be the king and queen of it because no matter what training we do, people always look at it, go through it and think, I could do that better, which is what you want because you want people to be able to build on what it is that you've kind of doing. And the last one there is, how do you support participants who can't make live sessions? That's where the recording comes into play. And it was quite surprising to us how many views of each recording we got. Sometimes with some of the videos, there's 20, 30 views, particularly early on. And so that's how some people kept up with the course. So there's probably other options. Whether you want to buddy people up so they support each other and they go to them. There's some things you can do by maybe having a summary at the start of a session, or when you post some communication, email's a bit tricky like this, about what happened in the session, post it to Moodle discussion forum, because if they ask you, you can then say, go to this forum and check it out. And if you've got any questions, come to me. So it's all about finding ways that can be a little bit less time consuming for you. So, Robin, you might have a few things to add there.
It's okay. You've done a really nice job of covering a lot of it. I will repeat what Mick said to start with. You almost can't over communicate, and it's one of those things that we all miss things multiple times. So there's been a few things that recently where I've been in the spot of asking for things I've been told already. And so you do just need to keep on over communicating as well. The other one that's really interesting with watching the videos is literally in courses I've had people who sit there and go, wow, that's so much there's so much happened in that hour or hour and a half. I'll go back and watch the recording. So they're physically at the sessions, but then I watch the recordings to process it all again. And that was a really interesting thing. So the recordings are quite valuable for lots of people for lots of different reasons as well. So it's yeah. Do find as
Robert,
well.
sorry.
Yeah. There's also another school of thought that if you don't record, it forces people to have to attend, which is good. And then two, I actually have evidence on this. If you don't record, people are more likely to participate and talk up as well, which I find really, really fascinating. And that's this cross-culturally as well. My computer, sorry, it's telling me, and that's one reason why I quite often don't screen share, because my computer keeps on telling me to get up and take breaks, which is terrible, isn't it? Cool. So, for facilitator tasks, which is, and we will put together a little bit of a whole sheet about what this is. So, each week, you're probably going to be in a spot with your team where you get together, plan what's going to happen. You've got your technical bits of what you might be releasing and sharing on the learning management system. It's actually, we haven't talked about it, Mick. One thing we did is we didn't release the whole course at once for a few different reasons, but I strongly encourage you not to actually release the course all at once. So you sort of feed the course out to people, so they just focus in on one particular thing every week. So there's those working through making sure the virtual classrooms are set up, and then some of that work actually goes together with the actual facilitating and teaching online as well. So that sort of all mixes together, and then there's the managing of it, which is things like the recording who's attended, supporting people one-on-one, and doing the assessment work as well, managing the recordings as well. We've actually done a really interesting thing, even if I was meant to take over 50% of the facilitation when I came back from my trip away. We've actually kept Nick doing the assessments because he's heading hurt. And it was just easier for one person to keep on doing that work. There's probably been a big load on him to do that as well. Can anyone think about any other tasks that you've seen as blended? teachers that you need to do on a regular basis?
You might have seen us doing. Think, oh, what are they doing that for?
So this is partly when that question came out about what's expected. This is essentially what's expected, the facilitating and teaching and the managing. Okay, pull this out a little bit more. This is actually your slide, Beck. Do you want to talk to this one?
Oh, sorry, I was yes, so this is just looking at those 4 tasks. What are the kind of main support strategies that or things that you have to do? So if you look at say planning the meeting, so each week there's well, for us there was 2 sessions a week from the different groups, but we tended to bring you all together for emails and things. So before the live class, we had to check the slides and the session plan if we had them, because sometimes in the early days we were putting the guide and the session plan in the slide annotations. The other thing is checking the Zoom registration, and this was a big problem and something I haven't resolved yet. But for us, Cole took care of the Zoom, and there were a few problems with that. One of which was we could never get polling authorized, and we couldn't access the recordings in the cloud. So that's why we've recorded them to computer, and then I'd put them up on YouTube and share an unlisted YouTube link with you. It's a really interesting point Robin makes about recording, about what you decide to do there. And an email reminder goes out before the session, just to say, hey, looking forward to seeing you. Doesn't have to be too formal. We're going to do this and this. Maybe a bit of a reminder about outstanding assessments, perhaps a sentence or two about what some of the main themes that might be coming through in assessments, just so that you can, give a bit of small group feedback. Remind people and share the link to any discussions you've got going. And we didn't plan discussions, but they just seem to happen. We throw up a couple of questions and a lot of people respond. And then preparing any other Zoom resources that you might have. So we used to sometimes use a small document that had links in it, so we could copy and paste it in. You might remember sometimes we're talking about a workbook, there would be a link to Moodle in there. And we paste that in so you could just select it and go live there straight away. So they're the main kind of things that we did, along with, requests from individual people or messages from individuals, which we find. Then during the session, it's probably about monitoring and being technical. And one of the really good things about having a team approach, particularly with a large group, one person can facilitate, the other person can manage communication in the background. So you might notice Robin sometimes talking, facilitating, and I'll be looking away because I'm in WhatsApp answering things, or I might be setting up a breakout room. I might be checking the recording, or I might be just acknowledging as people arrive session. How you going? Just when someone comes in. You might set the recording going, depending on what you decide there. Conduct an icebreaker, and you've got a whole stack of those that Robin's shared. Monitor the chat and emails, as I said. Support tech issues. The main tech issue that we really couldn't help you with, and this is probably an indication of how far the technology has come. Even if you go back 5 or 6 years ago, most of our technical issues was getting audio and microphones to work. That was really quite difficult. But now the main issue with you guys has been connectivity. And that's a really challenging thing to have to kind of deal with for you guys, in that, you're you're in the session, then you're out the session, you got to try and pick it up, and it's really difficult. And
Yeah.
then the last two are really, facilitation tasks, run the collaboration, run your brainstorming, your whiteboarding, those kinds of things. And then presenting the slides, which are usually shared for me with PowerPoint, or I did PDF, and Robin uses Google Slides, which works really well. And you can share them fairly easily too. After class, you're sending out a transcript. We've been using an AI tool. It's not always accurate, and sometimes I've had to edit it because it's been quite wrong or even offensive at times, which is quite strange. You might have to take an attendance record depending on Robert's contract with you. We certainly did, even though Zoom will capture that for you. And then after the class, you're sending an email summary again. What happened? Here's the link to recording. If you do them, you might send the slides out and a hard copy, a soft copy of the assessment too. Then there's the anytime stuff. When you're out having good time and you're getting questions about different things, they're good to, we didn't do this, but sometimes you might do something like it's like a service guarantee that you're guaranteed to answer every message within 24 hours, something like that, or 2 days if that's more reasonable. Assessment grading and feedback. We had a few problems with Moodle informing us that tasks had been submitted. We had to physically go in and see who'd submitted what for some tasks, even though we'd set it all up properly, and then maybe provide additional resources, just maybe not necessarily to do with course, but to do with blended TVET or blended learning tools, just as a kind of interest. So that's the main task. And if you're team teaching, then probably not a bad idea to work out who's a good communicator, who's better at that, who wants to be front of house, and come to some arrangement about who does what, so you sort of share the load. What do you reckon, Rob? Is there anything else in there too?
Actually, you were talking, there was just something that I haven't actually talked about, and it's to do with the bandwidth problem. And I ranted a little while to myself about this. Basically, if someone's having a bandwidth problem in Australia or New Zealand or the US, we just sit there and say, oh, just use the dial-in, that's a free phone number for Zoom, and you can just ring into that. There's none of them in Africa. There's not one free number. And it actually really surprised me, but I would hope into the future that there is more phone conference dial-in possibilities. And if you were looking at other platforms, finding one that actually had local normal phone numbers which could be used to dial in on could be a really useful thing, because I was quite surprised that I was really surprised that there wasn't any in the countries that you're working from. Yeah.
I wonder if we could stream the transcript to WhatsApp or something like that, and put your polls on there and your brainstorming there too, for if it's a major problem.
Interesting. Cool. Okay, thank you, Mick. I think we're going to go into some breakout rooms for about 15 minutes to basically look at ways that you and your institutions can support your participants, and how that's going to actually work in terms of so we've heard people talking about face-to-face groups, and then mentoring groups as well, and just to think through how that delivery might work. If you're in a group together, you might sit there and go, actually, I think you're going to need to do 2 content sessions a week to get through the 8 weeks. So to sit there and actually make some plans about what time of week could work for it. So you might sit there and say, okay, in actual fact, this cohort of people we're thinking about normally teach between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. So we can do a session at 4 p.m. Or actually, they quite often take an hour lunchtime. Let's do the sessions or the catch-ups over lunch together. Or yeah, sometimes early mornings for say more trade people in Australia works really well because everyone gets up earlier before it gets hot. And if that's your target, that could be another type of solution as well. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to open the breakout rooms. We've set the breakout rooms up again in a way where you have to you join. So rather than being in a spot where we allocate you, you need to go to the breakout option. If you're not seeing the breakout option in the bottom of your toolbar, it's in the 3 dots. What we'll do is, if people start to sort of slot into which country you're from, if we end up in a spot where people are ending up in a room by yourself, we'll teletransport you into another room. We've got 2 people who've gone into their rooms. Got 3 people that's gone. We've got Kenya, Guana. Doreen, I'll put you in your room. Looks like we've got 3 rooms operating. Okay, cool. So we do have 2 people from Nigeria. Doreen, are you doing okay?
No, I don't seem to see what I have to click on to get into my room.
That's really odd. So, can you go down to? Have you got a breakout?
Yes, I've gone down to the 3 dots, and yet the options I'm seeing is not. I don't have the breakout option to click on.
Okay, on your toolbar, have you got the breakout option along the bottom rather than in the 3 dots?
Okay. Hey, what is happening?
One of the challenging things with these particular moments is even if we ask you to share your screen, we can't actually, it stops sharing and showing these Zoom controls. So what else can you see on your screen, Doreen? And are you working on a laptop or computer or your mobile phone? Okay, so they went in about 7:37 net.
Okay, I think I found it.
Cool. Okay.
Eight minutes. First time now. So you thinking we might come back sometime this time next week?
Yeah, I think this time next week. Is that okay with you? So weird, we've got less people turning up at this particular time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's not a good, if it's not a good time.
Oh, Frida got bumped.
And Daniel's just joined. Daniel, I don't think you were in actually even in before. We're just doing some breakout rooms and talking about supporting people.
Yeah, I had issue connecting to my network. It just went through.
Cool. Just put you
Okay,
in.
thank you.
Yep, that's great. Hi, Frida.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in.
Really wish I could just off the top of my head remember where everyone needs to go. Frida's at Zambia. Oh, cool. You got her in there. Or she's gone in there.
Got there somehow. But Frida's now, we've got her in Zambia. Can you hear me still, Frida? It's a bit like the Star Trek transporter, this, doesn't it? People get sort of stuck between worlds.
Cool.
I lost the lead. Great stuff.
Ah.
Bugger.
How about 5 minutes in breakout rooms to just have a little bit of a quick discussion about what sort of areas you want the mentoring to focus in on. So the way we're currently thinking about the mentoring is we'll focus in on, okay, it's week 1, you're delivering unit 1 and 2 this week, or it's week 1 and you're doing the orientation to help you do that. But we're also thinking that in a lead up, we need to do some more, we need to do some technical things like Moodle, tracking participants, giving feedback in Moodle, looking at quiz results, looking at H5P performances in Moodle, and then a bit more advanced Zoom skills as well. So, and if you wouldn't mind fleshing out a little bit more by what you mean by PowerPoint, as whether or not it's actually basic use of PowerPoint or making PowerPoints that actually just look really good. And yeah, maybe that's also the difference between that. So let's go at, let's open up I think Mix, you've actually opened close this, go to the screen share.
Yep, it's all good to go.
Okay, so about 5 minutes in the breakout room. So if you can jump in quickly, that would be fantastic. Quickly stretch.
Welcome back, Humphrey. We've just started another breakout room activity. You might have heard a little bit of that before you were taken out. So feel free to rejoin. And you have. No, you haven't. You still are your dad again. Oh, man. Same with you, Durban, if you can hear me okay. Or Isaac's on his own. Chundra, are you able to join Zambia? Oh, no, she's taken off. She's gone somewhere else. Humphrey, welcome back. I can see you had a couple of problems there. So, Humphrey, I'll put you. To you and Ghana, so I can put you there. All right, Humphrey, if you can select a breakout room, then we'll be able to head back to where did I put you? Back into Ghana. Yeah, he is. That Zoom report was shocking. How many times they're in and out. It's just very difficult for them. They're chatting away though, it's good. I have turned on this AI tool in Zoom. I've never used it before. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, we've been using it internally, and it's really good. It seems to be, yeah, as good as running a auto transcript through ChatGPT.
Mm. And like if someone misses half a session, they can catch up.
The price point for CRISPR is still good.
Mm.
Free is actually really nice.
Okay, so I think they were back. Welcome back, everyone.
Thank you. Cool, thank you. We've got a couple of different options for this, and I'm thinking about mixing things up a little bit because boredom is the definition of boredom's keeping on doing the same thing all the time. So rather than actually going around the rooms, could we all just sort of anyone pipe up and say something or put up your thoughts about ideas for mentoring and preferred mentoring methods as well. So it's that thing also with a method. It's about, yeah, maybe the whole, whether you prefer some of it to be happening more on WhatsApp or personal or as a group or. And don't forget you put things up on the whiteboard. And then you do need to click away for them to show. I'm getting to the spot where I'm starting to get tired because I've been up for 15 hours because I got up early and my work is starting to go. I'm sorry, everyone.
So swimming again?
Yes, I am swimming in the morning again.
Good stuff. Hey, so, but we did establish that we thought technical help, so with the tools, was
Mm.
one thing, and facilitation help was the other. So it'd be interesting to hear from the group whether that's what they thought too. So I'm not sure if someone from one of the groups wants to speak and tell us a bit about, what were some of the ways they can build their capability with everything related to the course. I think we've got communication under control, but Zoom, Moodle. So let's head up Kenya. Dev and Lynette, do one of you want to take the mic and talk a bit about what your ideas were for building your own sort of skills with these tools?
All right. Thank you, Mr.
Hey, Lynette,
Mickey.
yeah.
Yes, so to be honest and sincere, actually 5 minutes, we realized that was very short for us, but what emerged from what we discussed was that there are 4 main areas, the broad tasks which and facilitator is supposed to take care of, and some of them we didn't really have enough time to discuss all of them, but something which we have is the fact that we may not really be very okay with the H5P. For example, I remember there is a time I was coming up with some online content and I realized that there is a tool which had been used in one of the presentations about Wanjiku. I believe all of us, we can remember Wanjiku, and I was wondering, how did our facilitators come up with this? Then I reached out to Mr. Mickey and he came in handy and he gave me information on where I can get this one. So in my opinion, there are some areas like when we are designing the content, in the event that we want to make some amendments, you realize that it's important for us to have a chance or to be allowed to continue consulting our facilitators where we get stuck so that we can get a way forward. So I think that is what came up. And the other areas like technical, how to use the LMS, how to do a virtual class. I think I can say that we have really learned a lot from what our facilitators, both Mr. Robin and Mr. Mickey, have actually been running the classes, and we are going to adopt a lot from how you are running these classes. And personally, I can say that I didn't know that WhatsApp can actually be used to run these virtual classes, and I realized that it's coming in handy. Like the session which is currently in our institution, I have actually tried this method with one of my classes and it is working perfectly well, because when I throw a question to the students, they actually responding to it and actually learning. It is actually taking place all through and through. So probably that is what I can say. We were with Madam Deborah. Probably Deborah, allow me to welcome her to say something in a minute. Thank you.
Thanks, Annette. I'll pick up on the H5P because there's 2 ways we can go with this. The one way is that H5P is a set of interactive tools that are, but for they're separate to Moodle, but they're built into our Moodle. They're an option that we can use. So once you've got teaching rights, you'll be able to see how you create those. And I suppose nothing really stopping you or us demonstrating how you might create them, maybe to copy the existing ones and adapt those. So you've always got the original there. But yes, not too difficult to create those. And that's something we could kind of show you how to do. But I think what Robin was also talking about, which is how do we also see who's done the H5P activities that are there, who's completed them, who hasn't attempted them. They're all formative assessments, so you could change that if you wanted to and make it more summative if you wished, or create other activities. There's not just quiz questions, but there's flashcards, interactive video, which is really easy to do, drag and drop, which is a bit harder, but there's something like 30 or 40 tools there. So once you get in there, you'll be able to have a look, and we can provide some resources to show you perhaps how to, we'll see what we've got with time as to whether we've got the capability to show you how to create those.
I find with them is once you have the sort of understanding of the logic of how they work, it's fairly easy to work with most of them. I also, you'll find, I think in this particular course, I'm actually very technical. I can code in about 3 or 4 different programming languages. I actually find it easier to use less tools and know them really well. So my favorite tool in H5P is a presentation tool, because you can mix some content together and do quizzes together as well. And that's actually, I think, one of the things we've used the most, because I sit there and go, you can do multiple things with one tool. This is just really good. Thank you. And that just works really nicely. So I think there's some other nice ideas happening here as well. So some of these are just that whole, how do I put it? The art of being an online facilitator. So they're paying broad attention to participants' ideas and being open as well.
That
The
number
cream-
one is a really interesting one. Broad attention to catch facilitators' ideas. Yeah, because you really want to build on. I mean, I think that was our thinking with this feedback task, is to build on your ideas and provide you some resources to make them happen, like screen capturing tools. You know, a lot of people mentioned that. So, you know, just saying, well, you could use this tool, it's free, or whatever. That one's really important too.
Sorry, interesting. Okay, all right, thank you. I just noticed the time. I want to do one more whiteboard. Can never have enough whiteboards during a session, everyone. As a bit of a wrap up, and it's actually about the fact we've sort of spent these sort of 6 hours this week doing things. I'd like to finish up workshops, especially with these, is for you to actually sit down and do a whole, well, what's the next thing for me to think about doing with all of this? So I'm just going to clear this whiteboard. Many times. Okay, on the whiteboard or in chat or taking the microphone, what's your next actions that you need to do? I'd love to hear what people are thinking. So we will regroup and use the word. Mick seems to be doing all the organising of meetings, but we'll at the same time same day next week, we will catch up and start to do some more technical work in Zoom. Hopefully we don't get everyone turning up and it becomes really overwhelming, but we'll figure that out. No one's going to do it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, well, maybe we can, I think in Zoom we can, Robert, I think we can enable people to see what's happening on the facilitator screen in Zoom. That's all hidden at the moment, but I think we can turn that on.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I noticed it today. So people can see what we're actually kind of doing. But I'll test that.
Okay, everyone can see what I'm going to write up. I'm going to say choosing your participants carefully.
Yes, that's a good question. Just in the sound.
Who's ever done that? A tool I use, and I don't pay for the full tool, and if you can install it, it's fantastic. It's a thing called Crisp, and basically what it does is it actually cuts out the background sound and makes your voice sound better. It basically, you can use it for 2 hours a day for the noise side of it. Actually, Nick's talked about it in the past. I realized for the transcriptions, I actually use it for the background. This room that I'm in, which is probably looking really dark now, I've just realized I probably haven't actually changed the light. We sometimes have we grow up quail and chickens, so we sometimes have an incubator whirring away in the background. So it can be quite noisy. Okay, and we will try to we just need to polish up some of the content and folders to get those a little bit more organized. They sound like some really good actions. That planning the cascading training really fits in it and goes across what I was talking about with choosing the participants as well. Okay, it feels really exciting. It feels like the start and a new bit of a journey.
Planning.
Yeah. Oh, that was the other thing. Can we stop the recording for a moment, Nick?
Oh, yes. Private talk.